all done it. We have a Zoom call in exactly 4 minutes. We're working from home. You'll look around your living room or your kitchen island or your bedroom corner. And you panic. Your eyes dart around the space, and suddenly you are hyper aware of the evidence of your actual existence. You grab the laundry basket, you grab the 3 half-empty coffee cups, you grab the dog toys, the pile of unopened mail, the jacket you draped over the chair last Tuesday, and in a flurry of sweating, heart-racing panic, you frantically shove it all just 2 inches out of the camera's frame. You sit down, you check your hair in the monitor. The little light turns green. Hey everyone, so great to connect today. That moment, that frantic, sweating 30-second scramble of hiding your actual human life is the most important sociological and biological event happening in your home right now. And it is absolutely exhausting you. Take a breath with me. Drop your shoulders, unclench your jaw. If there are dishes in the sink right now, I want you to mentally grant yourself permission to leave them there. You are safe here. You made it. I'm Erns. I am an NCIDQ certified commercial interior designer and a well-accredited professional. My mission is to democratize high-level building science to help you design a home that treats you with kindness, compassion, and love. Because right now, most of our homes are incredibly rude to us. For the last few weeks, we have been building a foundation. We've been translating the hard science of architecture into soft landings for your daily life. In episode 2, we looked up. We talked about lighting and Zeitgebers, or time givers. We discussed how the specific spectrum of light entering your eyes dictates your cortisol and melatonin production, and why your overhead recessed lighting is giving you low-grade anxiety at 8 p.m. In episode 3, we looked behind you. We explored the evolutionary psychology of prospect and refuge theory. We talked about why your 200,000-year-old animal brain needs a solid wall at its back to feel safe from predators, and why floating your desk in the middle of the room with your back to the door makes it biologically impossible for you to focus. Today, we are capping off our foundational trio of videos. We've talked about the light above you and the wall behind you, so today we are talking about the room in front of you. We are talking about the performance of home. Because your home is a machine for living and the body is a sensor. And right now, the sensor is telling the machine that you are constantly on stage. To understand why you shoved your laundry out of the Zoom frame, we have to travel back to 1959 to a sociologist named Erving Goffman. Goffman wrote a foundational book called The Presentation of Self in Everyday Life. In it, he introduces something called dramaturgical analysis. Goffman argued that human social life is basically a theatrical performance, and like any theater, our lives are divided into 2 distinct zones, the front stage and the backstage. The front stage is where the performance happens. It's where you are the polished professional, the perfect host, the put-together parent. On the front stage, your behavior is dictated by the expectations of the audience. You are creating an image. The backstage is where the performer goes to drop the act. It's where the waiter goes into the kitchen and sighs heavily. It's where you take off your bra, unbutton your pants, let your stomach hang out, and drop the mask. The backstage is where the illusion is dismantled. It is a space of profound safety. Now, historically, residential architecture clearly delineated these spaces. Think of a Victorian home. You had the parlor, the formal dining room, the receiving room. These were the front stage. They were highly decorated, kept pristine, and meant for the eyes of others. But there were also thick walls, heavy doors, and long corridors separating the front stage from the backstage. The kitchen, the scullery, the private family quarters, the bedrooms, these were strictly off limits to the public. You could have a totally chaotic backstage, but as long as the parlor was clean, the performance of having it all together was secure. And then the mid 20th century happened. We ushered in the era of open concept living. We knocked down the walls, we combined the kitchen, the dining room, and the living room into one massive, echoing drywall box. We thought we were democratizing space. We thought we were creating casual, free-flowing environments for entertaining. But from a sociological standpoint, we annihilated the backstage. When your kitchen, the ultimate messy, chaotic, functional laboratory of human survival, is entirely visible from the front door, you no longer have a backstage. When your living room, dining room, and workspace are all the same room, you are forced to live continuously on the front stage. And from a biological perspective, being on the front stage 24/7 is a disaster. Now, let me tell you a secret about how interior designers are trained. In design school and throughout our professional careers, we are taught to design almost exclusively for the front stage. We are taught to design for the photograph. When we finish a project, we bring in a professional architectural photographer. We hide the toaster, we place a bowl of perfectly yellow lemons on the counter. We arrange art books on the coffee table. We create a pristine, static set piece. And then we hand the keys over to a living, breathing, messy human being, and we silently demand that they maintain that performance. Let's bring in the robot for a minute and look at the hard science. When you are on the front stage, you are engaging in something called emotional labor. Sociologist Arlie Russell Hochschild coined this term in 1983. Emotional labor isn't just feeling an emotion, it is the management of feeling to create a publicly observable facial and bodily display. Crucially, emotional labor takes actual biological energy. It burns glucose. A 2025 study from the Journal of Neuroscience, mapping the neurobiology of cognitive fatigue, found that prolonged periods of self-regulation and performance directly deplete the brain's resources, leading to decision fatigue, irritability, and burnout. When your home is entirely open concept, the physical environment forces you into a state of continuous low-grade emotional labor. You are constantly perceiving your space through the eyes of an imagined audience. If someone knocked on the door right now, what would they see? Furthermore, the International Well-Building Institute, the leading authority on designing spaces for human health, specifically addresses this in the Well version 2 standard. Feature M07 is dedicated entirely to restorative spaces. The science explicitly states that human beings require environments that provide relief from mental fatigue and stress. To meet the WELL standard, a space must incorporate elements of privacy, sensory modulation, meaning a break from visual and acoustic noise, and a psychological sense of detachment from work and social expectation. We are 200,000-year-old animals trying to live in drywall boxes. Our nervous systems evolved on the savanna. The animal self does not understand the architectural magazine trend of a minimalist, open-plan entertainer's dream. What the animal self understands is vulnerability. In environmental psychology, there is a term called Thigmotaxis, It is a wall-hugging behavior, and if you put a mouse in a box, it will immediately scurry to the perimeter and press its body against the wall. It will not sit in the center of the box. Why? Because the center of the box is where the hawk swoops down and eats you. When we design living rooms where the sofa is floating in the middle of a massive open space, with sightlines to the kitchen, the dining room, and the front door, we are putting the animal in the center of the box. We are denying the animal Thigmotaxis. Dr. Jacqueline Vichet, an environmental psychologist, spent years studying the effects of open-plan spaces. Her work shows that environments lacking distinct enclosure, whether it's a corporate cubicle farm or a massive open concept residential floor plan, create profound chronic stress. Occupants experience higher acoustic distraction, reduced cognitive performance, and elevated cortisol levels simply because the brain has to spend background energy constantly monitoring a 360-degree environment for threats. You are sitting on your floating sofa, looking at the dirty dishes in the open kitchen, hearing the echo of the television bouncing off the hard surfaces, and your amygdala is screaming. We are exposed. We are on stage. We must perform. We are not safe. And we wonder why we can't relax. We wonder why our houses make our teeth itch. Mess is not a moral failing. Mess is a design failure. If your space is chronically messy and causing you anxiety, it is because the architecture of your home is rude. It is forcing you to perform for an audience that isn't even there. Let's take this back to your animal self. Remember, your body is a sensor. It doesn't know what mortgage is, and it doesn't care if your aesthetic is minimalist or maximalist. It only knows safety and danger. Evolutionarily speaking, being observed by eyes outside of your immediate, trusted tribe usually meant one of two things. You were being hunted by a predator, or you were being judged and about to be exiled from the group. On the savannah, both of those things meant certain death. Being perceived is high-stakes biological event. When we design open-concept, hyper-minimalist homes with massive expanses of glass that look incredible on Instagram, we strip away our evolutionary hiding spots. Social media and remote work, the audience has breached the perimeter of the home. Your living room is broadcasting to the world. We deny ourselves Thigmotaxis, that wall-hugging behavior animals use to feel secure. We need spaces that offer Geborgenheit, that beautiful German word we learned that translates roughly to the feeling of being completely held, safe, and protected. A stage does not offer Geborgenheit. A stage offers exposure, and you cannot biologically heal while you are exposed. I know a lot about performing. I know a lot about building a front stage to hide a chaotic backstage. If you don't know my history, my family tree is an intense one. 500 years ago, my ancestors were the masters of water. They were Dutch engineers who built the dikes of Europe to keep the sea out. My literal surname, Wall, comes from this lineage of dike builders. We built the walls. We held back the flood. On the other side of my family are the Wheelers. The name translates roughly to those who live by the pools left behind after the dike breaks, the breach dwellers, the survivors of the flood. For over 22 generations, my ancestors have been running. From the swamps of Prussia to the steppes of Russia to the snows of Canada, and eventually to a fundamentalist Mennonite colony in the deserts of Mexico. That is where I was born. Growing up in a high-control religious group in Mexico is the ultimate lesson in front stage performance. In that community, there is no separation between your physical reality and your spiritual worth. Everything is a performance of righteousness. The way you dress, the way you speak, the way your house is kept, it is all scrutinized by the community. Any deviation, any mess, any backstage behavior was viewed not just as a mistake, but as a moral failing, a sin. And I was a gay boy in a world where being gay was the ultimate unforgivable breach of the dike. So I learned to perform. I became the ultimate architect of my own front stage. If I could just build the wall high enough, if I can make the front stage absolutely flawless, no one would look behind the curtain. No one would see the floodwaters rising. My refuge in that house was a tiny spot I called the Lego corner. It was just two blank, intersecting walls, but when I sat there with a solid wall behind my back and a solid wall to my side, I felt something the Germans call Geborgenheit. It's a word that doesn't translate perfectly into English, but it means the feeling of being completely held, safe, and protected from the elements. In that corner, the animal was safe. I didn't have to perform. But you can't stay in the Lego corner forever. Later, as I moved into my career in commercial architecture, my front stage was an absolute masterpiece of professional success. And my backstage was a raging, terrifying flood. I was designing multi-million-dollar corporate headquarters optimized for human wellness, and I was going home to an apartment where I would collapse from sheer nervous system exhaustion. I was hiding the laundry out of the Zoom frame of my life. It wasn't until I moved here to Victoria, British Columbia, that I finally allowed the dike to break. I stepped away from the performative environments. I went and started to apply the building science I used for my corporate clients to my own home and to my own brain. I stopped decorating for an imaginary audience and I started designing for the 200,000-year-old animal that just wanted to feel safe. We have to stop shaming ourselves for being tired in homes that are designed to exhaust us. If your home demands a constant performance, it is failing you. So, how do we fix it? How do we take this hard science and apply it to your living room right now? Here are 3 concrete Froh solutions to rebuild your backstage and design a space that treats you with kindness. Then, we will go through the home room by room, as well as different workplace types to apply these concepts to your actual real life. Step 1. Deprogram the open concept. Create visual boundaries. If you live in an open concept home, you need to create architectural stops for your eyes. The brain gets fatigued when it has to process the kitchen, the dining room, and the front door all at once. We need to manufacture a backstage. You don't need to frame up drywall. You can use large open bookshelves, tall potted plants, or even a strategically placed screen or a heavy curtain. You want to break the visual sightline between your area of rest and the areas of labor. When you are sitting in your designated rest zone, you should not be able to see the dirty dishes, period. Protect the animal's view. Step 2. Honor Thigmotaxis. Give the animal a wall. Stop floating your furniture. The magazines lie to us. A floating sofa in the middle of a room triggers an evolutionary vulnerability response. If you have a floating sofa, anchor it. Put a heavy console table directly behind it. Place 2 heavy grounding lamps on that table. Anchor the seating arrangement with a large, heavy, textured rug. By creating a solid mass behind the seating, you trick the amygdala into feeling like it has a wall at its back. You are creating Geborgenheit. You are holding the animal. Step 3. Sanction the doom pile. Kind storage. This is a hill I will die on. Mess is not your fault. If you have a doom pile of mail, keys, dog leashes, and sunglasses on your kitchen counter, it is not because you are lazy. It is because the animal came into the cave and immediately needed to drop its foraging tools, and the design of the home did not provide a landing pad. Look at where your doom piles naturally accumulate. That is your body telling you exactly where it needs a system. Do not fight the body. If the pile is by the door, put a beautiful deep basket right there. Not a drawer that requires opening, not a closet that requires a hanger, a basket. Design must require 0 extra steps. When the exhausted performer comes off the front stage, they just want to drop their props. Give them a kind place to drop them. Now, let's grab a notebook. We're about to cover a lot of ground. Number 1, the entryway, the transitional zone. The performance. Creating a pristine, magazine-worthy foyer with a perfectly styled console table that nobody actually uses. The science. When you cross the threshold, your brain is transitioning from public threats to private safety. If you have to perform an elaborate organizational dance immediately upon entering, you spike your cortisol at the very moment it should be dropping. The fix: stop buying storage for the person you want to be and buy it for the person you are. If you always throw your coat on the back of the dining room chair because you're opening a closet door and using a hanger takes 3 steps too many, stop fighting the biology of convenience. Mount a heavy-duty, beautiful hook right where you naturally drop your bag. Remove the friction. Number 2, the living room. The doom pile. The performance: hiding every trace of human existence before guests arrive. The science: visual clutter increases cognitive load. Your brain has to subconsciously process every object in your field of vision. But forcing yourself to perfectly organize everything when you're already exhausted drains more energy. The fix: embrace the doom pile. Get a beautiful, highly textured woven basket, and when the front stage gets too visually loud, sweep your doom pile, the mail, the chargers, the half-read books, into the basket. It restores visual calm, giving you prospect without forcing immediate organization. It is a physical pause button for your guilt. Number 3, the kitchen, the performative island. The performance is the massive empty marble kitchen island that looks like a surgical theater. The science: cooking is a messy biological necessity, not a spectator sport. Open concept kitchens force you to perform the act of cooking for your living room. The fix: if you are renovating, bring back the messy kitchen or the scullery. If you aren't renovating, create a dedicated working galley zone out of the direct sightline of the living room seating, and let the toaster, the crumbs, and the coffee maker live there without apology. Number 4, the dining room, the abandoned set piece. The performance is a perfectly set table waiting for a ghost audience of VIP dinner guests that come over twice a year. The science: wasted square footage in a home creates subconscious guilt. It is a space demanding a performance that never happens. The fix: if you eat your meals at the kitchen counter, let the dining table serve your actual life. Let it be your puzzle table. Let it be the homework desk. Reclaim the square footage for the backstage. Number 5, the primary bedroom. Absolute Geborgenheit. The performance: 14 decorative throw pillows that you resent moving every single night. The science: the bedroom is the ultimate biological repair center. Cognitive stimulation from complex styling disrupts the pre-sleep routine. The fix: strip the performance. The bed is a machine for sleeping. prioritize heavy tactile blankets and amber low-level lighting to trigger your Zeitgebers. Nobody is judging your bedroom. Number 6, the bathroom, the spa myth. The performance, the clinical bright white hotel spa aesthetic with perfectly rolled towels. The science, bright, cool-toned overhead lighting in the evening suppresses melatonin and spikes alertness. The fix, you need a sensory reset. Add a small, warm glow lamp to your vanity or use a dimmable wall sconce. Let the bathroom be a soft, dim cocoon where you can wash the day off safely. Stop styling your Q-tips. Number 7, the home office, the Zoom background. The performance is curating the perfect shelf of books you haven't read behind your desk just so your coworkers think you're smart. The science, we discussed Thigmotaxis in episode 3. If your back is to the open room while you are on camera, your sympathetic nervous system is engaged. The fix, secure your perimeter. Put your back to a solid wall and face the door. Pull your camera angle in tight so the rest of the room doesn't have to be perfectly clean. Number 8, the closet, the museum of guilt. The performance is keeping clothes that are 3 sizes too small because you should fit into them, or holding onto the aspirational self. The science, this is the psychological principle of the sunk cost fallacy, combined with daily visual shaming. The fix, those clothes are hecklers in your audience. They are judging you every morning. Box them up and remove them from your daily sightline. Only keep costumes for the role you're currently playing today. Number 9, the hallway and the stairs, the cognitive map. The performance, gallery walls of perfectly spaced family photos that require constant straightening. The science, hallways are circulation spaces. They are the arteries of the home. The fix, keep them visually quiet. Give your brain a micro break as you move between rooms. You don't need to be entertained or reminded of your family tree while walking to the bathroom at 2 a.m. Number 10, the sanctuary space, or your Lego corner. The performance, being on call 24/7 in every room of the house. The science is we need a physical anchor for the parasympathetic nervous system. The fix, you need a designated, unperceived zone. Pull a comfortable chair into a corner. When you sit in this chair, no laptops, no cameras, no performing. You physically train your nervous system. In this chair, I am off the clock. I am safe. Now, let's take this to the commercial sector. I wrote my master's practicum heavily on the psychological factors of workplace well-being. If you work outside the home, your cognitive fatigue is likely off the charts because the modern workplace is designed entirely as a front stage. Let's break down 7 specific work environments. Number 1, the open plan or the bench desk, the ultimate front stage. The performance is the performative keystroke, looking busy for management simply because you are visible. The science, 2024 studies on cognitive fatigue in open offices prove that the lack of visual and acoustic privacy destroys deep work and spikes absenteeism. Thigmotaxis is impossible here because your back is exposed to circulation paths. The fix, if you can't build walls, build visual baffles. Use large plants or desktop screens to block peripheral movement. Protect your sightlines so your brain doesn't have to subconsciously process every single person walking by. Number 2, the cubicle farm, the illusion of the backstage. The performance is pretending you can't hear your neighbor chewing ice while knowing they can hear every word of your phone call. The science, environmental psychologist Jacqueline Vichet research shows that Partial enclosure, like a 54-inch partition, is actually more stressful than no enclosure. It creates a psychological expectation of privacy that the physics of the space cannot actually deliver. It's a failed backstage. The fix: we need to implement strict behavioral zoning. Treat the cubicle farm like a library. If you need to collaborate, move to a designated loud zone. Stop performing collaboration over the partition walls. Number 3. The executive private office, the status stage. The performance: the oversized mahogany desk, the intimidating guest chairs. This is pure dramaturgy. It's a set designed to establish dominance and hierarchy. The science: in my practical research on Generation Z, we found that younger workers actively reject these hierarchical, walled-off status symbols. They seek transparency and mentorship, not intimidation. The fix: if you have a private office, change the geometry. Move away from the power dynamic of sitting behind a massive desk while your guest sits lower. Create a small round table setting for one-on-one meetings to equalize the stage and drop the performance. Number 4. The meeting room, or the glass fishbowl. The performance is trying to focus on a vulnerability or a creative pitch while the entire office watches you through floor-to-ceiling glass. The science: the goldfish bowl effect increases heart rate and decreases cognitive risk-taking. You are less likely to share a creative idea if you feel exposed to the entire floor plate. The fix: apply a frosted distraction band at eye level on the glass. It provides seated visual privacy, giving the room back its refuge while maintaining daylight penetration for the rest of the office. Number 5. Night shift and nursing work, the exhausted stage. The performance: masking extreme biological fatigue to provide performative empathy to patients and families at 3 a.m. The science: shift work violently disrupts circadian rhythms, leading to a recognized medical condition called shift work sleep disorder. The front stage, the patient room, requires high alertness, but the body is screaming for sleep. The fix: the nurse's station or break room cannot be an extension of the clinical environment. It must be an absolute backstage. Implement tunable circadian supportive lighting in the break room that allows for low stimulation recovery, and provide acoustic separation from the monitors and alarms. Number 6. Industrial and manufacturing, the safety stage. The performance: masking physical pain and performing toughness to keep up the line speed. The science: in environments with high acoustic noise and repetitive physical strain, the sensory load is overwhelming. The brain is constantly filtering out hazardous inputs. The fix: the break room must offer extreme sensory contrast. If the factory floor is loud, bright, and hard, the break room must be quiet, softly lit, and furnished with highly ergonomic soft seating. It must allow the musculoskeletal system to completely unfold. Finally, number 7, retail and hospitality, the emotional stage. The performance: the customer is always right, smiling through abuse. Science: sociologist Arlie Hochschild coined the term emotional labor. This is the intense cognitive effort required to manage your own feelings to create a specific emotional display for a customer. It is exhausting, leading to severe burnout. The fix: back of house areas in retail cannot just be cinder block rooms with time clock and a folding chair. They need to be designed as decompression chambers. Soft lighting, acoustic privacy, comfortable seating are necessary to recover from emotional labor. Your home is not a content studio. Your break room is not a luxury. They are machines for living and repairing. And living is messy. Living is shedding skin, crying, making crumbs, eating shredded cheese over the sink at 2 a.m., and leaving socks on the floor. If you are tired, I promise you it is not because you are lazy. It is because you are performing for an audience that you shouldn't have to entertain. This week, I want you to find one area of your life where you can drop the mask. Be messy, be human, and be wildly kind to yourself about it. This video concludes our foundational series. We've covered biology, light, prospect and refuge, and the performance of home. Now that we have the ground rules, over the next 6 episodes, we are going to dive into the heavy hitters from my graduate research. We are going to explore the 5 core psychological factors of design: security, privacy, perception of status, environmental control, and territoriality. You are not going to want to miss them. If you want to go deeper into the science and the soul of this work, come join us over on Patreon. It's our own little backstage corner of the internet, and I promise you, it feels exactly like sitting in a velvet armchair in a sunbeam. The link is in the description. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for letting me into your space. I'm Erns. This is Froh Tell. Stay safe, stay Froh.